Hello everyone, we're going to do this setup again while I still have the piles of boxes in my living room here. Hopefully for only a short time. Doesn't matter that I'm not completely in frame. I'm not the star of this show. This stuff is. Before we get started, I have been asked to show all three covers of the new Lost Carcosa without the jacket on the books. So here's that one. And that one. And that one. All right, my finger's in the way a bit. And that one. Okay, now that that's done, today we are talking about the Lost Carcosa Slipcase set that goes on sale tonight. 9 p.m. finish time on August 23, 2026, in case you're not seeing this on the day I upload it. Hopefully, if you're seeing this later, the thing is already sold out. One can dream. You know, this is over 3.5 kilos. All right, let's have the spines showing. The Slipcase set has all three cover versions of Lost Carcosa in it, in a big, thick, sturdy slipcase with special material on the surface. It's called Mirage. I wanted the same material that we used on our earlier printings of Carcosa, but that isn't available anymore, but this is real close. And then we've got a two-color foiling on that to emulate the original LOTFP version of Carcosa. 22 numbered copies are being made available to the public. An additional few are being sent to contributors, and the contributor copies have separate numbering using letters to distinguish them from the copies we're selling. We're selling it for 750 euros. Break even on the slipcase for us is 11 copies sold. It really is brutally expensive to manufacture these slipcases with the special material and foiling in such low quantities. It's collector bait. No bullshit about that. And I'm feeling a bit defensive about the price. As well I should with that price tag. I do need to explain myself. The thought process was, doing this edition of Lost Carcosa needs a new cover to differentiate itself from the previous editions. But we're already doing a limited edition thing. Let's make it 3 covers. Cool. And they'll be special materials and foiling because this thing isn't going to have lesser production values than the previous edition. That was organic decision making based purely on coolness. Then the thought came, some people are going to want to buy one of each of them. That's when I thought, okay, well, let's just put a slipcase on them then. And then I got the pricing for what that would cost, and in a moment of either genius or idiocy, I just said, fuck it, okay. And here we are. As far as pure math goes, having to sell half the available run to break even is not awful. It's actually far less of a profit margin than the vast majority of commercial products you'll run across out there of any type, considering manufacturing cost versus final consumer price. So that part of it I'm comfortable with. But I still made the decisions that made it that expensive to manufacture, thus resulting in the final price. My only defense for making a pricey collector's item is that I myself, when I can afford to do so, and sometimes when I can't, am so fucked by the collector brain. I made the sort of thing that would give me a big old collector boner. And now I will prove this past any of your patience to sit through it all. Some of this is probably repetition to people who watch every moment of every video, but if that's you, there's something wrong with you in a way that will let you sit through the repeats. See this Blu-ray of Possession? Very basic copy Blu-ray. I've had this for a while, But late last year, yeah, it was last year when I had other bills, they done went and released a fancy-ass version that I just had to have. Slipcase. There's a book in there, a hardcover book about the movie. I had to have it. Had to have it. Same shit happened with the movie Triangle. It's got a book in there. Same thing happened with It Follows. Now, I know these weren't last year, but still. And this special version of It Follows with a book, I accidentally crumpled the paper sleeve when putting it on the shelf, and now in the back of my brain is like, oh, you got to replace that. It's marred. I've been smart enough not to do that, though. I even did that with Return of the Living Dead. And I already had a special edition of that to begin with. And this one, does this even... I'm not going to open it. You know, that's how I operate. But then Martyrs here is a very special case. And of course, it's the one that's not... For fuck's sake, Jim. Let's just drop your collector's edition shit all over the floor. Pardon me. No, I'm not editing this. Because one thing I hate about YouTubers is they edit things to... unless it's specifically funny or for effect, they edit themselves to just seem completely inhuman. I got... Okay, no bangs, no bruises, very good. So, Umbrella Entertainment, out of Australia, has a whole line of specifically collector's edition stuff, and they label their website, you know, the section collector's editions. Fancy-ass versions of already released movies. One of their collector lines is the New Extremity collection featuring French movies. Volume 1 here has High Tension, Anatomy of Hell, Frontiers, and Martyrs. Am I holding up the right one? Yeah, I am. Comes with a book that I dropped on the floor, but no bangs, no bent corners, thank fucking God. Comes with a book of essays about the movies and the French extremity movement as a whole. I love special, movie editions that come with books. I love it. Book publisher guy likes books. Film at motherfucking 11. Guy that publishes book with gross magic likes movies that have been grouped by people into a movement that has the word extremity in it. Film at 11:05. Well, 4 months after this set was released, just try not to drop anything on the floor, anything else on the floor, Jim. 4 months later, the company Eureka releases a special edition of Martyrs in a hard slipcase with its own revised subtitles and other features, and its own book included. Well, guess what I did? I had to get it. And the book, as it turns out, has a completely different set of essays than the Umbrella Entertainment version. By the way, this 6,000 copy edition is already sold out. Less than a year later, so I'm so glad I didn't miss out on this version. They're all excellent movies, by the way. Martyrs is a genuinely disturbing movie no matter how jaded a movie viewer you are. Triangle is the sort of LOTFP wet dream scenario I wish I knew how to make work in a non-scripted format. And definitely see Possession. They've made a remake that's releasing whenever it's going to release, but see the original before that thing just ruins the universe. I mean, for fuck's sake, why? And, see these? These are Arkham House editions of H.P. Lovecraft's work. I got these over 20 years ago now. You know what these are? much later editions, Hippocampus Press editions, that I haven't even dared break the shrink wrap on. Just a few more of these here. These are the Nightshade Press Clark Ashton Smith editions, including the one here with the differently colored title that you just know someone is going to go to their grave kicking themselves over. I can relate to that sort of thing. And then look at this. This is a fancy-ass edition of Averoigne stories that are all in these books. And I haven't bothered taking the shrink wrap off of it. I just thought it would be cool to have, because my favorite Clark Ashton Smith stories are the Averoigne stories. Hope I'm saying that right. And over in music, I've long had the first two Rotting Christ albums. Get that look off of your face. I mean, I've worn their shirts to conventions and nobody said a damn thing, so just calm down about that. Well, some years back, it was pre-pandemic, they released the Under Our Black Cult special set with those same albums. And also demo material going back to 1989. This is a veteran band. And some live stuff that I think was appearing for the first time, but I wasn't in it for the demos of the live stuff. I was in it because of look at how cool this fucking thing is. This is a big CD hardcover book thing. Once I became aware of its existence, the only question was when I could afford it. And you better believe one of my browser tabs was open on the web shop for weeks, just waiting for me to have sufficient funds so I could hit the buy button on this. And finally, one more. Where are they? See these Arcturus albums? I've had them for many, many years. But when Prophecy Productions put together the Stars in Oblivion Collector's Edition that had all of those albums, plus other stuff I intentionally don't have separately because I don't like it. There's like trip-hop remix albums and stuff. You can't believe how enthusiastically I was all over this. Now, I saved this one for last because I am about to nerd the fuck out all over you, and you aren't going to be able to wash it off very easily. This album here, La Mascarade Infernale, a title I'm surely butchering the pronunciation of. It's one of my top 4 albums of all time. Easy. Cynic Focus, Opeth Morning Rise, Hammers of Misfortune, The August Engine. Thanks for asking. The 5th ones always seem to be changing. So, anyway, this copy of La Mascarade Infernale is an original Music for Nations Misanthropy Records pressing from 1997. And it plays just fine. There are people out there, oh, disc rot. Well, ain't rotted yet for me. And it has a little hidden feature. There's a bonus track before the first song. You have to start playing the CD, then scan backwards to get to it. You can't skip tracks. You have to press the backward scan button on your player and hold it. Now, not all CD players can do this. My Discman can't. My computer I've used to look at CDs, no computer that I've used to look at CDs have ever acknowledged that that track exists. But it's been a while since I've used a computer to play a CD. When I buy a new CD player every bunch of years, I have to bring this CD along as a reference because I am not buying no shitty CD player that can't find the hidden Arcturus song. The CD of that album that's in the Stars in Oblivion set doesn't have the hidden track. And that's fascinating to me because it's like, why not? There are a few possibilities. Did Did the people who made the set not know about it? I think that's doubtful. I mean, I know some of the people who work at the label, who put the set together, and they are dedicated music maniacs. There are a million things to consider when putting together a set like this. Maybe they just forgot about some minor detail from one of the albums. Possibly. Again, I can relate to that kind of fuck up. Maybe CD manufacturing these days can't do it. We have new and improved methods these days for pressing CDs, but some obscure function that almost nobody ever used just isn't part of today's technology? I got no idea. Or the fascinating to me possibility, what if it is there? What if the hidden track is on the CD in this set, but however they encoded the information on this new version of the CD, my player can't detect it? What if all the different pressings of this album is just an arms race between how new CDs are encoded and the way new CD players are manufactured? I mean, probably not. But I think it's fascinating to think about. That's who you're dealing with here. And then I scripted here that I would act out having a big eureka moment, because as I was writing that paragraph, sitting at the computer, I had a genuine eureka moment. I just decided on the spot I'm not going to try to act that out for you. Anyway, I know some people who work at the label. I just said that. I'm still on their email promo lists for press kits and advanced digital copies of albums, the last label that hasn't removed me, and I haven't done music press stuff for 20 years now. Well, I guess I have reviewed a record or two this past year, but anyway, not the point. One of their PR people used to write for me back in the zine days. It would be the easiest thing, now that I actually think about it, to ask about the bonus track situation in this set. So I'll go polish up the rest of this script, and if I get an answer to the email, I'll just tell you. Right now. I heard back from the person I emailed over there, but he didn't immediately know the answer. He says he emailed the band, but I haven't heard back since then. If I get an answer, I'll include it in a future video. It'll be like a hidden track, the seemingly nonsensical line just thrown in the middle of a script. I talked to Garm once for about 10 seconds. I was supposed to interview him for the current Arcturus release at the time. I think it was Sham Mirrors. It would have had to be for the timeline. Yeah, Sham Mirrors. I was given his cell number and a time to call him, and I did so at the proper time. Not like that time I called Devin Townsend for an interview, and instead of calling him at noon Vancouver time like I was supposed to, I had my time differences backwards and woke him up at 6 a.m. his time. Whoopsie! But no, Garm I called at the right time, but he was out somewhere noisy and gave me a later time to call for the interview, and when I did try calling at that time, he didn't answer. I never tried again. Now I know most of you are going, what? Who? But I know there's someone out there losing their mind that I had Garm's cell number. And that person is going to think I'm the dumbest person alive that I tossed it out after he didn't answer after that one time. I was so goddamn nervous making that call. It was Garm, for fuck's sake. And I felt bad at the idea that I'd keep calling him trying to get him to talk to me. Even though the label had given me his number and should have told him I'd be calling for the interview. I mean, I wasn't cold calling him after finding his number surreptitiously. I wasn't doing anything like that. I used to so prefer when labels would set it up so the bands would call me to do the interviews, but Arcturus, their US label was small, and so leaving the international long distance bill, and I'd sometimes talk for hours with these musicians, that was my trademark, leaving that bill to making just over minimum wage me, maybe that seemed like a good idea at the time. You should have seen my phone bill in those days. I had my phone turned off for a while because I couldn't pay the phone bill after spending like 6 hours on the phone one time interviewing a Swedish musician. Or that time I was on the phone for hours calling Pakistan for an interview with a metal band there. I was so sure I was on a government watch list. I probably still am now. The internet may not be good for you, but it does have some points in its favor. My point to all of this is to try to convince you that I am not cynical businessman who has come up with a grand plan just to take all your money with a super expensive edition of a thing. I am actually, truly, myself, Caleb Hammer's dream guest. Seriously, there are always other bills to pay, and there are a couple people who would have legit reason to send me a nasty email seeing this video and me showing fancy things I bought in 2024 and 2025. I mean, no, forget all that. I mean, I am actually the lavish collector edition man myself. And I love doing things like publishing small run items that just disappear into the ether like old 7-inch records from a now famous band's early days. This is just that on a grander scale. The whole Lamentations thing is making the sort of thing that I like when other people make it, and so here we fucking are. Whether it's a good idea or not, whether it makes business sense, we'll know in a few days. That's how things run around here. We do the things we're inspired to do, and then cross our fingers and hope it turns out well. And really, you already know 2 things about the Slipcase set, and you knew these things before I posted this video. Item 1 that you already know. You know if you even want it or not, or if you're just fine getting one of the individual books. It's got to be one or the other. You're not allowed to watch this video without buying anything. Them's the rules. You know, but yeah, you already know if you're interested. That's why I'm not trying to do the, oh, look how awesome it is, you must have it, don't risk FOMO bullshit sales talk. When I told you that I had a whole expensive set of Lovecraft books that I haven't even taken out of the shrink wrap, that was bought before the pandemic, by the way, you either thought that I was a moron, or you involuntarily nodded understandingly. You either have collector brain or you don't. And I'm just trying to put this thing on camera a bunch so people know it exists, and hopefully enough of a subset of you have a good job and a brain that goes ding, 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 ding when you see something like this. Item 2 that you already knew before I posted this video, you know if you can afford it or not. I can't talk you into having more money. There's not even a discussion to be had on either of those 2 points. This either lights your brain up or it doesn't. I mean, this whole video is just trying to deflect the people mad that you'd even have the option, and my insecurity, are they right? And to show off some cool shit. I mean, if you haven't seen these movies, if you haven't listened to these albums, if you haven't read these books, come on, guys. Come on. Anyway, if the existence of this thing does light up your brain and you've arranged your life so that, yes, your life won't break if you buy it, goes on sale tonight, Sunday, 9 p.m. finish time. And this is one of those things that won't be discounted later, not by me anyway. Any promos or discounts I do later on won't be valid for this thing. I'm wanting to protect the price for the people who are going to pay it and not make them feel like fucking idiots later. I honestly have no idea what the demand for this is going to be. That's why there's only 22 of these things available. Maybe this will be revealed to be a complete fool's errand. What was I thinking producing something at this price? Maybe it'll go very well and I'll be able to pay down some real debt. Maybe it'll be somewhere in the middle. This is the real life, push all the buttons, pull all the levers, see what happens situation. I'm going through my real life dungeon crawl just doing shit like this. If it sells out quick, you better believe I'm going to do as big a dance as my poor old legs will allow. And if it doesn't, well, I've had plenty of Icarus moments doing this job. What's one more? But I've done my part in making it. This next part, it's all up to you. You're the ones that decide whether this was a decent idea or not. So, see y'all tonight.